All right. I want to welcome on sports broadcaster Travis Thomas. You've seen him everywhere. You've heard him everywhere. Travis, how you doing?
I've had better days. I mean, listen, we're all going through it right now. Obviously, we all love and respect our first responders and our healthcare workers and everybody fighting a good fight. But we're all just at home, man, and there's no sports. It feels like there's nothing. And I'm like everyone else, man. I'm just eager to get back to work and eager to see sports again, to be honest with you.
So what was the last thing you placed a bet on?
The last thing I placed a bet on. Well, I don't even necessarily remember, but I'll tell you a funny story. I was ready to rock and roll for March Madness and baseball win totals right before baseball season. And I was going to go place all the bets at once, all my March Madness picks, and also the win totals for baseball. I had about 5 teams I felt really strong about for the baseball season. And then I was waiting on Selection Sunday, like everyone else, to figure out which games I was going to bet on. Typically, on a March Madness year, I'll bet about 4 or 5 games. I don't bet every game on the board. I'll pick 4 and 5 I feel really strong about and go after it. I had the budget ready. I had all my picks ready. And, the world changed.
Yeah, for some reason, I still have a perfect bracket, but I haven't heard from Warren Buffett. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm expecting a second stimulus to come in the mail via his house. I don't know where he is, like in Iowa or something.
Hey, somehow it's possible that Warren Buffett's money is funny like the rest of us right now, right?
It's wild. It's wild. No, because I remember it was March 11th. That date's gonna be sticking in my mind. I'm sitting in the office. We're just watching, and I'm seeing this Thunder game. I'm like, nobody's coming onto the floor, and then I get an update. Tom Hanks has coronavirus. I'm like, we're screwed. So yeah, but it's wild because March Madness feels like it was supposed to happen like months ago. It doesn't.
I know, Zach. I covered Wizards Knicks the night before the NBA shutdown. I've never seen anything like this. And look, I'm 38 years old, so I haven't lived forever. But when I talk to older people, particularly my dad, man. I mean, my dad's 70 years old, and he's like, dude, he's lived through the civil rights movement and Vietnam and all these like major world events. And he says to me, I've never seen anything like this. It's incredible.
It's wild. Yeah, it's something I don't think anybody ever really anticipated happening. You figured out we have modern medicine, we have modern technology, like it's not going to affect us. And then I guess we were wrong, but hopefully this is not going to last as long as it does. And if not, maybe people can adjust. At least we can get sports back. I know you're betting on that Korean baseball they got on ESPN at 1 o'clock in the morning.
I'll tell you this that I've learned about myself. All this time, because I gamble on so many sports, I thought I was a degenerate, okay? Turns out, Zach, I'm not a degenerate because I have not bet on Korean baseball. Not that there's anything wrong with betting on it, but I don't bet on things I typically don't know a little bit about, right? I haven't bet on horse racing. Horse racing's been going on. I haven't bet on that. I typically bet on the Kentucky Derby and Preakness and the Belmont Stakes, but I don't bet the ponies every weekend, and so I haven't done that. I haven't done Korean baseball, cricket, rugby, any of these random. What's the NASCAR that they're doing? I haven't bet on any of that stuff.
No, because like I heard when I don't know if you've probably been watching The Last Dance. I feel like that quote Jordan said definitely resonated with you. He said, "I don't have a gambling problem; I have a competition problem."
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. For me, honestly, and this is going to sound so cheesy, but Zach, it is the truth. I have a lot of passion for sports in general. As a fan, as a gambler, as a broadcaster, it's just all I know.
Yeah.
I haven't really diversified my portfolio, right? It's just sports.
Yep.
And so for me, to be honest with you, I bring that kind of passion in everything I do as it pertains to sports. So if I'm not passionate about Korean baseball or NASCAR races or esports, I can't force it, no. Right? I only love what I love. And so I bet on those things that I'm very knowledgeable about.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, because I know ESPN, they try to do that horse thing, and I'm like, all right, Mike Kylie's got a nice gym, but like aside from that, like I'm good with this. And then like you got the Last Dance getting you through it. We had Tiger King, which kind of like got us people like a week. It feels like it's been over forever since that we were talking about that. And then so they're looking at some July potentially openings for U.S. sports, maybe basketball resuming, baseball potentially. Personally, I think baseball is the easiest one to come back. No fans, no force outs. Everybody wears gloves.
Yeah, I'll be betting this weekend. There's a UFC,
Yeah,
really good card that's stacked. Kudos to them. I mean, look,
yeah,
Florida is open for business right now, man. So WWE, UFC, there's a lot of rumors that boxing is going to get some cards going down there. So at least we have combat sports in the meantime, in between time. But you're right. I would love to see basketball come back. I know you want to see it.
yes.
Because as you know, I had a lot of wagers in our office about the Celtics coming out of the East, not the Bucks. So I know you want to see basketball back.
And unfortunately, Jason Tatum never thought maybe I should get a hoop. He's suddenly like, oh, yeah, I haven't played in a month. I'm like, what? You were the third pick in the draft. You don't have a hoop? I'm like, what are you doing? It's like it was just getting great. You're like, all right, it's going to be Zion potentially. Get all these storylines. Zion come out of nowhere to bring the Pelicans possibly into the 8th seed. Luka, can you see if he can hold his ground? And you got this battle going in LA. The East, can Giannis get it done? Is Middleton going to act like a second rounder, or is Middleton going to act like a second best player on the team? And then it's just nothing.
Well, I'll say this. All those storylines you talked about, they're palpable. Yeah. But the biggest one and the biggest loser in this, if the NBA indeed cancels Zach, is LeBron James.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, you just talked about it. We're all watching The Last Dance. Okay. And we're all having reminders that Michael Jordan is the GOAT, right? And if you're LeBron James, you're sitting back, you're watching it like everyone else. What the hell else are you doing, right? And he's got to be thinking, if I can't play this season and have a shot at a title, that's a lost season. He's not getting any younger. Now, you can make the argument he's not going to have the mileage from this season from chasing a championship on him, but still, Father Time's undefeated, okay?
Yeah.
So he's a day older every day that passes. I just, I feel really bad for him because he's chasing Michael Jordan's ghost at this point, and if he loses this season, it's just another opportunity for him to try and gain ground on Mike.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a really good perspective. I never really thought about it until just now is when people remember when a lot of people that really never saw Jordan that are kind of like seeing it now, their memories of Jordan are to come from this in the same time period where LeBron didn't win a title. So it's going to be like Jordan just going to overlap it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yes, it's wild. That's wild. And then what do you think? I know you're a San Fran 49ers fan. What do you think of their draft?
Oh, it was a great draft. Listen, here's what I'll tell you as a fan. Since taking the job, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan have literally done everything right. Zach, they've done everything right. Even at times when I've questioned them. We've had a string now for, it feels like a decade, certainly going back to the Harbaugh years, where we've taken defensive linemen in the first round every single stinking year. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Well, who am I to question them anymore at this point? So I don't have any qualms with or problems with the Niners draft. I'll tell you I thought the Redskins had a great draft as well from a local standpoint. So did the Ravens, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you my sneaky draft team, Zach, if you go back, I don't know if you know off the top of your head or not, but if you go back and you look at the Colts draft, listen, this was a team, I know you wanted to talk about gambling, so I'll give you a little bit here. Right. Andrew Luck absolutely stuck it in my back and twisted the knife because I had a futures ticket on the Colts to win the Super Bowl at 20 to 1 odds, which I thought was beautiful. And then I think I got it the week of the weekend before he retired, right?
Wow.
And so when he retired, well, obviously, I didn't rip it up at the moment, but I knew that ticket was worthless. But the reason I bet on them to begin with is because the roster was starting to catch up to Andrew Luck's talent, okay? Then the guy retires. Well, obviously they were mediocre last year. I think they went 8-8, 7-9, somewhere in there. Well, the roster now is getting even better. They had a really good free agency and the draft to pick up a guy like Jonathan Taylor, running back out of Wisconsin.
Forgot they got him.
Jacob Eason, who should be the quarterback of your future from Washington. And Phillip Rivers, he gets to learn from, and maybe Phillip has a little bit left in the tank for a season. I'm telling you, Zach, the Colts had a sneaky draft, and I will be betting on them, knock on wood, that the NFL season is here and on time. I think the Colts are going to shock some people this year.
I think they also got Michael Pittman from USC in
That's
the second
right.
round. They did it because they're always. And did they not have a first round pick? I don't even remember. No, they traded it. They traded it to San Fran for Buckner.
That's right.
So they got it.
That's right. They got Buckner as well. And think about this. That division, Zach, Jacksonville, please, right?
No.
Can Houston get out of their own way? Remember, DeAndre Hopkins is gone, right? And then Tennessee, I like Tennessee, but Derrick Henry has a lot of miles. Ryan Tannehill, I don't care what anyone says. I'm still not buying it.
Yeah, Indy's and the thing is, like, fantastic O-line, guys on defense that just stepping up you've never heard of, and then it's T.Y. Hilton. They can keep him healthy. I think they let what's his name, Ebron go. So they got Doyle, maybe a big year from Doyle. I know Phil Rivers, maybe he wants to kind of prove it to the Chargers. I don't know, maybe for the first time since his kids won't be at the games, maybe he can shine.
Hey, easy. You see my background.
I know. I feel like you could do a 360 on that hoop. But
dude, it's I'll tell you this quick story, personal note. You know, my wife is an essential worker. God bless her. She works with the homeless people. And
cool. That's awesome.
She helps try and get them apartments and jobs. So she's a social worker here in D.C., which is no small or easy task for sure, but it is much needed and much appreciated, right? With that being said, Zach, she's working. There's no sports, so daddy doesn't have to work. There's no daycare. So guess who's watching two toddlers every single day of life? Me. That's who.
Oh, my God. Do you feel like Eddie Murphy from the movie?
Yes. Zach, they're 3-1.
Oh, my God. Can
help me. Send help.
Can they dunk yet? That's one to getting towards back.
Yeah, so my daughter, she just turned 1 last week.
Oh, cool.
And she can't walk yet. She's trying to figure it out. She's walking like a drunken sailor right now. My son will be 3 in a month, and he is a beast. I mean, he plays everything: lacrosse, hockey, football, basketball, soccer, you name it. He's the man.
I just heard Real Madrid scouting him already. No, but yeah, that's wild. And then so is I know a lot of, especially now since it's wild that we haven't had live sports in 2 months, but like, are any of the old games catching your attention, or you're like, I've seen it?
No, I don't even know how to explain this to you other than I used the word passion earlier, but I am so all about the action.
Yeah.
Case in point, people always say, man, how do you work so late at night, man? I can't imagine. There's nights we leave the office at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the action. I love the juice. I love being able to bet games and watch live games. So watching old games, I mean, I'd rather watch paint dry at this point. I like betting on games, live action, and doing real pre and post game, fresh takes other than old stale games that I already know. I've watched a couple old fights. I'm a big fight fan. I don't know if you knew that about me or not, but I love boxing and UFC. I can't get enough of that stuff, so I'll watch some old fights of those. But they got to be classic fights. I'm not just – the thing about re-airing some like football and basketball games, Zach, they're re-airing stuff that isn't even classic games.
I know.
It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Now, I wish like if they – I don't know who has – if they had like archived like ABA footage or like Dr. J.
I'd watch that.
It'd be fantastic.
I'd watch that.
I'm like, all right, you got the Clippers and the Nets from 2 years ago. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
That's wild. But yeah, and then so you think boxing will come back before any of the team sports?
I don't know. At this point, man, we're all just looking in this bald head and guessing, right? I mean, like seriously, who the hell knows anything, Zach?
Yeah.
I tell you what, I'm fine if it does. I'll take everything I can get right about now. You know, my gut, here's my Trav Stradamus prediction, right? I just think the NBA and the NHL are going to postpone any day now.
Interesting.
And I do believe baseball will figure it out, and they'll probably be the first ones to jump out there this summer. And then you better believe like hell that football train is coming.
Yes.
NFL and college. I don't think every college is going to play. I think you'll probably have the SEC down south, maybe the Big Ten. You know, I don't see the Pac-12, particularly in California, happening. Maybe Oregon or something, maybe. But I think college football is going to be scarce and scattered. I do think it will be played, though. I think there'll be a season, and I would bet my house right here today the NFL will go on and probably on schedule, Zach.
Yeah, NFL is the one thing I'm like, as long as it's safe, they don't care about the status quo. They're going to do their own thing. People don't want them there to the draft. I'm like, why not? Nobody's there, and there's people just talking in front of a camera.
I thought it went good, too.
It was fantastic. Louis Riddick had a 6-second Wi-Fi delay, and every time they'd be like, Louis, and he'd be like, yeah, that was a great point. I'm like, somebody tell this guy, turn it up a little bit.
I've been a part of that, live television. Sometimes that happens. And I had a delay way worse than that. And in fact, I was interviewing someone. I asked a question, and they had a delay, and I didn't think they heard me. So I said, hey, can you hear me? Blah, 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 blah. And then by the time they heard my first question, they started answering. But then they heard me go, hey, hey, hey. And then they were like, oh. It was a mess, Zach. It was an absolute mess.
That's why athletes don't like the media, because they think you're not listening to them. It's wild. It's wild. And then, so Chase Young in D.C., what was your initial reaction? You're like, do you think this – the team is not complete. The D-line, happy with. Everything else is there's no really guys I'm like, all right, these guys are here for 10 years. But do you think he's a good instant impact guy that fans should be excited about?
Yeah, my first instinct was the Redskins got it right.
Yeah.
Listen, quiet as kept, dude. The last two drafts, I think they've been grand slams. I think taking Haskins when they took him, you got to remember they didn't trade up. They didn't reach for him. He kind of fell to them at 15, and it was perfect. Then they traded up late in the first round to get Montez Sweat, or it was the second round to get Montez Sweat.
26.
I thought that was genius. This year, same thing. They had the second pick, and all you kept hearing was people say Tua or trade back, and I hated both. Okay, unless you got the farm for that second pick, then okay, fine. You want to move back a couple slots, get Miami's 5th or whatever it was, and maybe their 17th or something, and then maybe a future pick. Okay, cool. But for me, unless you got the farm, it wasn't worth moving.
No.
Take the best player available at the pick. That was Chase Young, who was a homeboy, just like Dwayne Haskins was. He's local. Listen, Zach, here's the thing. I feel like local broadcasters are afraid to say this, and I'm not. It's facts. This team's attendance has been awful. You've got to do whatever you can do to get a shot in the arm for the fan base and get some butts back in the seats in FedEx. And you keep hearing these rumors they want to build a stadium back in the district. Well, in order to do that, you got to create some buzz, some excitement. You can't do it now with people basically boycotting your games.
I know.
So you have to take this kid who's going to get sacks. He's going to be exciting, and he's a local kid. It's a no-brainer. So I was glad to see him go through with it.
Yeah, I love the pick. I think he's going to be fantastic. And I think he's still growing, too, which is honestly terrifying for the rest of the league. But because I remember last year, it's like you knew they weren't going to the playoffs. They had won like a game or so. And then every week they're in these close contests. People are like, oh, that's how they get it. I'm like, why? Why should they win this meaningless game so they can get a lower draft slot? Like, this team's not going to the postseason. The game against the Lions drove me crazy. So I'm literally sitting there, and everybody else is like, oh, you want to see him compete? I'm like, I want to see you compete, but do what the Dolphins did against Washington. The Dolphins knew they were a better team, but they knew their goal in the back of their mind, and they said even though Washington had a big lead, We know you have a big lead. We're going to take it from you, and then we're not going to give you any time back. We're going to come back. And you knew they blew that 2-point conversion on purpose just to say, hey, we're better than you. We know that, but we have a long-term goal in mind. I think Chase Young's been great, but I'm shocked they even got that high of a pick. And this year, hopefully, if they're bad, but the promising, not bad, and you're picking at 16.
Well, I'll say this about that. Look, they were bad last year and they were in close games. What's that tell you? What it tells me is if the defense is improved, which let's just assume it is because it's hard to be worse than they were last year, we have got to have Dwayne Haskins take that next step.
Yeah.
Does he have to be Tom Brady? No. Does he have to be Patrick Mahomes? No. Just take the next step. Be a little bit better from year one to year two. We see it all the time with quarterbacks, and the good ones get better every year. If he can get a little bit better, Terry McLaurin can grow with him. Darius Geis, again, knock on wood, can stay healthy. Adrian Peterson keep turning back the hands of time. I mean, this team will be in close games again, and maybe instead of losing them, you win 3 or 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you mean to tell me a Redskins fan right now, if you told them, would you take 7-9? Would you take 8-8? You know, we lamented Gruden for all those years of mediocrity, but that's because the team had expectations and talent. Now we die for 8-8. If you're telling me the Skins are going to go 7-9, 8-8, 9-7 range, I take that. Are you kidding me? Because this is a young team, and that means, like you said, promise.
Yeah, especially like I was thinking about the 2012 team today. Start off 3-6. It really didn't go anywhere, but you see this guy RG3 who's just electrifying. I remember the main thing I remember is his jersey was sold out. I can't tell you the last player I've seen that happen to. So the buzz around that team, 3-6. I think they went off 6 straight, 7 straight. They did lose to Seattle, but I remember that buzz going into Week 17 against the Cowboys, and it's the first time in a long time you're like, I think they have a shot here, and I haven't felt that since. But I think if Haskins nobody's expecting you to be Joe Montana tomorrow. You gradually get better and better and better until you start making some wow plays. I think that's nobody's saying, okay, you got a year to go. I think you just see it's a gradual improvement. But Lamar Jackson, really, people were like, what's going on in his first year? And then last year, we can't stop talking about him. So I think it's all perspective.
Let me ask you something. You know, I gave you my prediction about the landscape of sports under this COVID-19 nightmare. What's yours?
For football is the one I'm very interested about because of offensive and defensive lines. Because if they don't have masks, they're just breathing. That's the one thing I don't know how they're going to do. Basketball, nobody's playing defense now anyways. That's not really anything. Baseball, easy. Hockey, they got the mask on. NASCAR, they're in the freaking separate cars. That should have started weeks ago. But the pit cruises, that's the one thing. But NASCAR, I think NASCAR is going to blow up soon. People are going to be like, you know what, I can watch this. So I'm hoping. I think it's all about. They said testing. That hasn't happened yet. Apparently, Korea just started the baseball league. Apparently, they're testing their new case numbers dramatically low to the point where it's not really, of course, it's an issue until there's a vaccine, but they can play. I don't think we're there yet. And I think once all the testings are there, they can gradually test, and they have kind of like policies in place. If a Rudy Gobert situation does happen again, then maybe they can keep it going. But I think they're waiting for the best idea possible, and then they're going to hit go on it because they're losing money. And they apparently they want to recoup. Apparently the NBA is $850 million if the season gets wiped, and nobody wants to lose that because then it affects salary caps and this and that. And it's a whole mess. But I'm hoping it comes back. But I think that people in place right now, I think they're probably the best decision makers because they're consulting with the smartest people in the medical field. They're consulting with people just to kind of make sure everything's safe. And I think hopefully they'll make the right decision.
Well said, brother. Amen.
Yeah. So, all right. So it's Wednesday today. It's the days don't matter anymore. The calendar. If you bought a calendar, get a refund. But it's wild because it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday. People are like, oh, it's Saturday. I'm like, no, it's not. So it's
Me, There was yesterday,
Yep.
today, and tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday and Draft Thursday, the only 2 days on the calendar I've cared about in the past 3 months. But yeah, so how can people find you on social media? Because you're tweeting everything. You're always off the wall.
Yeah, here's the thing. I figured out a long time ago with social media, make it simple, okay? When I first started out in this business, one platform is like Travis Thomas 62 underscore /sports. But then on another one, it was like Travis Thomas 16 because that was my lacrosse number. So now it's very simple. Travis Thomas Experience on all social media platforms. TravisThomasExperience.com is my website as well.
All right, cool. And then speaking of that, Elon Musk just named his kid XAEE12. What's he going to do his Twitter name as?
He can do whatever he wants, all that money. Come on, you know that.
I think his nickname, they're going to call him Printer. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that, but this has been a lot of fun, man. Glad to talk to you. Glad to see you. Glad your family's doing well, and hope we can get back to the office soon.
I know, man. You too, brother. Good to see you. Stay safe out here. And again,
Appreciate it.
Make sure you and everybody else show love to all the people fighting on the front lines of this thing. My wife's one of them. I mean, I think it's easy to thank our nurses and our doctors, and obviously they should be thanked. But there's so many people. What about the janitors at the hospitals? What about people like my wife, social workers out here working with people and trying to help and keep them off the streets? With so many people getting laid off and losing jobs and getting put out. You know, you have to have programs to help people like that. So anyone watching this interview right now, and honestly, I want to give you the floor back for a second too, because I know what you're doing and trying to help. And I think you should be mentioning that in every single darn interview you do with anyone, and you should be saying it to your blue in the face because it shows a lot about your character. So everyone watching this interview, just make sure you thank someone who is an essential worker, whatever it may be, because they're the ones keeping the country going right now. And Zach, I know you're like donating and trying to help people.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is I figured, all right, there's no sports, there's nothing to talk about, really nothing new. I don't really care about games from 50 years ago unless it's an interesting game. What can I do? I figured I'm not a frontline worker. I'd probably be more of a nuisance than a help in the hospital. Wait a minute, I've got a platform. I like to talk sports. I know people that like to talk sports. I can reach out to interesting people and tell stories, and I can try to give back. So what I'm doing is I've got keeping all the links. They're all in here. I'm donating all the proceeds to Feeding America. They're doing fantastic work. They're donating tons and tons of money to food banks across the country, helping out people that need the help. So doing all of that, figure you can entertain people, keep people engaged, keep people's spirits up, keep people's hopes up, and also give back. And if people don't have the means, that's perfectly fine. But if you can, that'd be great. If not, just keep on and watching, keep on enjoying. Hopefully we can sort of just get this country. I think I hate it, but I think the country, they start to realize what they should have been doing in times of distress. And hopefully this can put our country right back on track.
Well said, man. And salute to you for doing what you're doing. And look, you have a bright future in this business, not just because of your talent, but because of what you just said. Your character will carry you further than any talent ever will in life, no matter what you choose to do. So salute to you, man.
Appreciate it. Before we go, can we get you to dunk on that hoop real quick?
That's my son's. I just coach now.
All right.